everyone, it's Stephanie with Yarn Ball Handmade Goods. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you have watched before. In today's video, I'm showing you how to make this super cute granny square tote bag from start to finish. And here is what the bag looks like all done. It has beautiful cinching at the top. We used some gold D-rings for the strap. And we made an amazing Romanian cord strap, super bulky and sturdy, great for a tote. This bag is completely beginner friendly, which is amazing. Anybody can make it, even if you're super new to crocheting, never made a granny square before in your life. This video, you'll be able to learn that and you'll be able to make this bag from beginning to end, I have no doubt. Stick around to the end. I will show you how to join everything together and give you some extra tips on how to make your bag extra sturdy and beautiful. Okay, so let's get started on our granny square tote bag that we're going to be making. So what you're going to need for this specific bag is obviously a crochet hook. So I'm using a size 6mm. I just really like that size for a bag. I think it makes the stitch nice and bulky. Pair of scissors, yarn needle, and some hardware. So we're going to use this to attach our strap. It's going to be really pretty. It adds a nice touch. It makes it more sturdy. It's going to look great. And then of course, we need our yarn. So all the yarn that I'm using today is Loops and Threads brand. It is soft classic acrylic. I really love using acrylic yarn for bags and tote bags because I feel like it is less stretchy and it holds up really well. This is the color scheme I'm going for here. So we're going to start with 2 rounds of beige, then 2 rounds of mustard yellow, 2 rounds of this like burnt gingery orange color, 2 rounds of this teal blue, and then 2 rounds of dark blue. And then at the end, we're going to do the beige all the way around. So it's going to be 11 rounds total, starting and ending with beige. You can do this in one solid color. You can switch every 3 rounds, every 4 rounds, 5 rounds, have it 2 colors. You can do 20 rounds, you can do 8 rounds. It's really customizable, it just depends on how large you want your bag. For this specific bag, like I said, it's going to be a total of 11 rounds. We're going to start with a slip knot. The kitty cats are eating in the background, so their food's like rustling around in the bowl. And then we're going to chain 4. So we have our chain 4 here, and then we're going to slip stitch in this first chain that we made. So you just insert, yarn over, pull through the first loop, and then pull through the second loop. And it makes a little circle. And then we're going to chain 3. And then that counts as our first double crochet. You kind of have to pull it apart a little bit to see where you have to work into, but we're working into that center part of the circle right there. So we're going to yarn over and make 2 more double crochets in the center of that circle. So yarn over into the center of the circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we have 3 double crochets there now. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets. Ignore the kitties using the litter box in the background. My apologies. So 3 more double crochets. And by the way, this is called a granny cluster when it's a cluster of 3 double crochets like that. So we're going to chain 1 again, and we basically need 4 granny clusters. So we're going to do that 2 more times. Okay, so we just finished our last granny cluster. So now to close up this circle, we have to close this gap right here. So we're going to go back to our first granny cluster and find that chain 3. And then into the top of the chain 3, we're going to slip stitch it closed. So there's the first chain, the second, and that's the third. So we're going to insert into the 3rd chain, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. And now we have our closed circle. So now we have to make our way to this chain 1 space because we're going to be working into the chain 1 spaces for this bag. So how I do that is I slip stitch my way into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the stitch after that, and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space. And now you're in that chain 1 space and can start working in it. So we're gonna chain 3, that counts as our first double crochet. So the second round is just making the corners. So we have to form those corners to make the square. So what that consists of is a granny cluster, so 3 double crochets, and then a chain 1, and then 3 more double crochets in the same space. So you can see it's forming this corner here. So we have to do that in the remaining 3 chain 1 spaces. So we're doing 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. Okay, so there's half of our square. We got to do that in this other chain 1 space, and then this other one right down here. So we just finished our last corner, so you can see you have a nice little square forming. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 that we started with. And that's that. So our first 2 rounds are done. Again, I'm changing colors every 2 rounds, so I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. If you wanted to continue working with the same color, you would just do the same thing where you slip stitch your way into the corner and continue building the rounds that way. But we're changing colors, so I'll show you how to change colors now. I personally weave in my ends as I go because I'm just not about that life. I do not want to finish a project and have to do more work. I want to be done. So you'll just weave your ends in through the back. Make sure they're nice and secure back there. Cut off the tail. Okay, so we're done with the beige color until the end. So now we have our little square. We have 2 of our 11 rounds done. So we need to go ahead and add our new color in. We're gonna go ahead and do the mustard yellow color now. I just realized that my lights were not on this whole time, so that's fun. So it's brighter now. It's because I finally turned my lights on. So the way we're going to attach our new color is really simple, and there's multiple ways to attach a color. This is just the way that I do it. I start with a slip knot, and then again we're just working in the chain 1 spaces, so you can start in any of these corners and it would work fine. I just slip stitch the color on, so I insert my hook, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through that loop. And then just tighten it a little bit and the color is attached. To me, that's just simple. And then from there, we're going to chain 3. So we're going to do the same thing we just did with 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then 3 more double crochets. That's what we're going to put in all of the corners. Okay, so we have our first corner there. Now you can see, since it's growing, we have this middle section here. So whenever you're in one of the middle sections, you're gonna just do 3 double crochets. Okay, so now we have our 3 double crochets in that middle section. So we're gonna do another corner because we're coming up on a corner here. And to be quite honest with you, this is all that it is the entire time. It's just doing the corners, and then in the middle sections, you're doing 3 double crochets, and then just fastening off when you want to attach new yarn. And that's really about it. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. And then we're doing one more round of the mustard yellow. So we're going to slip stitch into this next chain 1 space into the corner. And I wanted to show you up until this point because I just wanted to show how when you add more rows, you gain an extra of these middle spaces. So we have the corner, which gets 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then we have 2 middle sections right here. They both get 3 double crochets, and then you go to the next corner, which is the same as the other corners. This is all you're doing the whole time until you get to the size bag that you want. So I'm going to continue building this up. I'm going to finish my round of mustard yellow and then add my last 3 colors and end with my 11th round being the beige round. I'll come back when the complete granny square is done and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so here is our finished granny square. I really love the way that these colors came out together. I think there's a really beautiful contrast throughout. I love the color changes and the warm and the cool tones. So I did go ahead and already make the second square. I made it a little bit different. So this is what the back panel looks like. I just chose to do all of that gingery reddish color because I thought it was a really nice fall color. So I just stuck with that for the back panel. But then it's funny, I realized that like this kind of reminds me of a pizza. Maybe I just really love pizza, but I was like, it's like a pizza with the crust. I don't know. But we're gonna roll with that. I'm not exactly upset about that. I love pizza. So that's that. We got our pizza, we got this one. In order to move forward with sewing this bag together, we're gonna need a few more things. We're obviously gonna need our yarn. We will need our 6mm crochet hook. We will need our yarn needle, our scissors, stitch markers, our gold D-rings, and then for the strap portion, which we're gonna go right into after this, we're gonna need a larger crochet hook because for the strap, I'm gonna be using multiple strands of yarn to make it. So I'm gonna eventually switch to either this 9mm hook or this 11.5. It just depends what I feel like I need to use. So I'm gonna kind of mess around with that when we get there. So that's everything that we're gonna need to finish the bag. So what I wanna do first is just jump into sewing these 2 granny squares together. So let's do that. So I'm gonna grab my 2 squares, and what we want to do is we want to have the wrong sides facing each other. So you can see the wrong sides have a little bit more of like a texture to them, I guess. So you want to lay your wrong sides together so that they're facing each other. And of course, we're only going to sew 3 sides, leaving the top open. So the way that I personally like to join my granny squares is by using a slip stitch. It's very simple, it looks beautiful. You can seam your granny squares together however you like. If you'd rather do whip stitch or a mattress stitch or a single crochet, you can do really any way you want to join these. We're gonna start with a slip knot. We're going to just tighten it, and then we're actually going to remove it from our hook. And then what we're going to do, you're going to find the 2 corners. So I just like to line the corners up right here. If you want to put a stitch marker here, you can. That's not what the stitch markers are technically for, but you can definitely do that if it helps you stay on track. So let me just lower this so you can see a little better. So what we want to do is we want to find the chain 1 in the corner, and we're actually going to start there. So we're going to insert our hook into the back loop. We're going to be working in the back loops only. So if you're looking at your crochet project, this is the front loop and this is the back loop. So we are going to insert through this back loop, and then we're going to insert through the back loop of the chain 1 space on the other panel. And now we have these 2 loops on our hook here. So this is when we want to go ahead and reattach our slip knot, and then you're just going to pull it through both of those loops. And now our yarn is attached and we're ready to get slip stitching. So I like to just pull the tail through the other side just to keep it out of the way. And that's all we're going to do from here on out. Is we're going to go through the back loops So the back loop of the next stitch, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through, and pull through. So we're just slip stitching our way across, that's all. So we'll go into this next back loop and the next back loop, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. And we're just gonna do that all the way until we get to the opposite side. You wanna make sure you're not skipping any stitches too. One way that I like to do that is just to look at the cluster that I'm on and what stitch of that cluster I'm on. So we're on the third cluster, first stitch, and it looks like we're on the same on the other side, third cluster, first stitch. So we know we're on track here. So you can already see here, it's making a beautiful seam. I'm gonna continue doing that all the way till I get to the opposite side, and I'll meet you back here when I'm done. Okay, so I just finished my last slip stitch, so you can see all three sides are sewn. And I left the top open, of course. So at this point, we shall fasten off here. Pull that through. Again, I weave in my ends as I go. So our ends are weaved in. So as you can see, the bag is pretty square. If you like this square shape and you want to leave the top nice and open like that in a square shape, you totally can. However, I prefer to give it a little bit of a cinch at the top just to make it a little more curved and not such a just blunt like square, I guess. So this is where your stitch markers will come in. So we'll have our two stitch markers. So let me lower this. So the way that I like to cinch my bags, I don't do anything crazy. I usually will try to find the middle of the bag. So I have 11 granny clusters going across the top. The sixth granny cluster is going to be our center. So we're going to take the fourth cluster and we're going to just fold it inward like this until we have this backwards S looking shape. And you're going to hold that together. We're going to take our stitch marker, just put it right through the middle. Okay, so we have that there. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold that in as well, making a regular S shape. And then take your other stitch marker and just put it through all of these stitches to hold it in place. Okay, so it should look like this from the top. It'll have this kind of gathering right here. Since we already counted everything, the opposite side's easier. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just go to the fourth one, bunch it together, put a stitch marker in there to hold everything. And then the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bunch that together and do another stitch marker. Okay, so now both sides are good. We have everything lined up. It looks even. We're gonna go ahead and do a few rounds of single crochets to form this cinch, and then just to add a nice little border, and then we're also gonna attach our D-rings when we are doing our single crochets as well. So we're attaching our yarn in the back of the bag. I'm gonna just pick any stitch and then just do a single crochet here to attach it. And then we're gonna single crochet in each stitch until we get to our cinch. And I will show you how we make that work. Okay, so we're already coming up on our cinch here. So sometimes you do have to finagle it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and take the first stitch marker out. And let's see here. So I just wanna go ahead and kind of hold it together. You can leave the stitch marker in while you do this if that's easier for you. So we have our cinch here. So we're just gonna make sure that we're going through all of these stitches to get it to stay. So we'll go through here, that's the first part, and then you can see when it unravels, there's a stitch in the middle, so you have to make sure you're going through that. So we have all the stitches on our hook, and then we're going to come out this other end. Sorry if that is confusing, I will show again. So you can see we went through this stitch here, and then when it folds, we have to go through this stitch right here, and then this stitch over here. And then we're just going to do one big single crochet. You're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And we're going to continue doing that. So we're going to go through the next stitch right here, and then through this back stitch right here. And again, you can make the cinching as big or little as you want. It's really your call, your preference. So now we can remove this second stitch marker. You're going to go through this stitch right here, and then you have to go through this middle stitch, and then you also have to go through this back stitch back here. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And then again, go to the next stitch, go through these two stitches here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And then we'll go through here, and then we have to just attach this very back stitch right here. And then we will yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So there we have our little cinch. Easy as that. And then from there we're going to continue our single crochets until we get to the next cinch. Now when you get to the corner, you'll still do a stitch in the chain one space, and then I personally like to do a stitch right in the middle here just so there's no gaps. You don't have to do that if you don't really like to, and then I go right into the chain one space. Okay, so we're coming up on our next cinching section, so I'm going to go ahead and take this stitch marker out. Again, if it's easier for you to leave them in, you can definitely do that. Okay, so we have our fourth cluster here, so we're going to fold that back together. We're going in the next stitch and then going into this middle stitch and the back one. We're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Again, go in the next stitch, the middle, and then the back. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And then we have this stitch right here. And then we're going to go into this stitch here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And there's one side of our cinching. And then we will take this next stitch marker out, make sure everything's nice and folded up. We'll go through this front stitch here, the middle stitch here, and this back stitch here. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Once you get that first one done, it kind of stays together pretty good. It's less finicky, which is nice. Because sometimes at first it can definitely be finicky to get this going the right way. Okay, and then back here. Okay, and there's our second cinch. Then we'll just continue our single crochets. Now we're smooth sailing. We got the cinch in, we're good with that. And see how it just adds a little bit of a tapering to the top of the bag? I really like the way that looks. Just personal preference. So I'm gonna do 2 more rounds of single crochets, and in the third round, that's where I'm gonna add the D-rings. Okay, so we're back where we started, so we're gonna slip stitch, and then we'll do a chain 1, and we will single crochet. This row is gonna be another just row of single crochets. So we're about to start the third round of our single crochets. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that second round. We'll chain 1, and then we're going to go ahead and single crochet until we get to the corner of the bag on the third round. Okay, so we're approaching the corner. So I usually like to take the 3 middle stitches of the corner. I like to use those to attach my D-ring to, just so it's nice and centered. So you can see here, this is the very middle one where the seam is. So we'll do 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just gonna single crochet until I get to there. Okay, so our next are the 1, 2, and 3 in the middle. So let's grab our D-rings. Usually I use brass, like circle rings, but this is all that they had at Michael's, so we're rolling with this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna line your D-ring up with your stitches, and then you're going to insert your hook through the D-ring and then through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we're just attaching it with a single crochet. It's super simple. So go through the D-ring, go through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that's it. And now it's all there, nice and secure. So we will continue to single crochet until we get to the next side, and we'll do the same thing. So that's on there. We'll finish our last couple single crochets here. And we'll slip stitch into this first one. And there we go. So now we can fasten off. We'll pull that through. Weave in our ends. Okay, so we have our ends all weaved in. We have our cinching complete. We have our beautiful gold D-rings on here. So we are really, really close to being done. Of course, the last thing we have to do is our strap. I am going to show you how to make one of my absolute all-time favorite straps. I use this strap for all of my bags. I'm obsessed with it. So I am going to pull a strand from each of my colors. You do not need to use 5 colors to make this strap, but I just really like to go all out with the strap sometimes because I feel like it just adds such a nice touch. And it also makes the strap bulkier, which I like because it's just more secure and sturdy. You can do this strap with 2 colors, 3 colors, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can do this strap however you want. You do not have to use all of these colors for this strap. This is just how I want to make it. Okay, so we have all of our ends here. I'm gonna go ahead and do an 11.5 millimeter hook. You're going to leave about a 10-inch long tail, so we can use that for sewing. And then you're gonna make a slip knot, but you wanna pull it up a little bit looser than you normally would because we have to work into these strands of yarn right here. And then you're going to yarn over and chain 2. And then you're gonna turn your work to the left. You're gonna insert your hook into all of these strands from your slip knot, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And then the same thing. You're gonna go to the left, insert your hook through all the strands, and then yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and then again, we're gonna turn to the left, insert our hook through all 5 strands, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, turn your work, go to the last set of 5 strands, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So basically, you just want to make sure you always have the 5 strands on your hook. It can definitely be confusing. So basically, after you pull through and you have this pattern, you want to turn to the left. The 5 strands from the previous stitch you made are what you're going to go through next. So you just go right through all of these, Again, make sure they're all on your hook. Probably the hardest part is making sure they're all on your hook. Pull through. And it looks kind of crazy like doing this, but honestly, once you get your hook through all these strands, it kind of does the work for you. Like, you can feel that you're in the right spot. So you can see how our strap is looking. That's really cool. That's why I struggle through using 5 yarns at once, because I mean, that's really a cool, thick, sturdy strap that doesn't have much stretch to it. So I'm going to continue to do this until I get to the strap length that I want, and I will meet you back here. Okay, so I'm coming up on the last couple stitches of my Romanian cord strap here. So I will show you how to fasten this off when you get to the length that you want. I think I'm going to do one more to finish. So to finish, when you're on your last stitch, you're just going to pull through like a regular single crochet, finish it, and then you will fasten off how you normally would, but we're going to leave a longer tail because we're going to use these ends to sew. So I think about there is good. And then you're just going to pull through as normal. And that, my friends, is a Romanian cord strap. Look at that thing. Let me move all my yarn because we're done with this now. So we're really about to be done here. We're on the tail end of this bag now, but you can make this as long as you want. I personally like a shoulder bag. That's my preference. So I did it that length, so it would be a nice shoulder bag. So let me show you how to sew on the Romanian cord strap. It's really, really simple. We're just gonna do it with a whip stitch. So I'm going to just trim these ends so that they're all lined up evenly. It'll just be easier to feed through my yarn needle. I just like to keep the pattern throughout. So since I used 5 strands of yarn, I'm going to use 5 strands of yarn to sew. Okay, so we have all 5 strands of yarn through our yarn needle here. And I like to just put the strap where about I would want it, right there. We're going to go through the D-ring, out the back, pull the yarn through. So now it'll look like this. Then we're going to come through the back of the Romanian cord strap, pull all the yarn through, and you're just going to basically continue that. Go through the D-ring, go through the back of the Romanian cord strap, and just go in a big circle until you feel that it is sewn on good. Once your strap is locked in, you want to end by going through the D-ring, and then on the opposite side you'll weave in your ends as you normally would. And usually what I like to do, just to make sure everything is super secure, is I like to tie these into knots. I'll just take these two and then I will put them through a different strand of yarn just so that we have something to tie the knot around. So they can go through here. And then we're going to tie these into a knot as best as you can. And you'll want to do that a few times just to make sure it's nice and secure. And then we're just going to cut as close to the knot as we can here. So I'll just do right about there, right about there. So there we have it. Now our strap is attached to our D-ring, nice and snug, you can see here. And we'll just do the same exact thing on the other side. So now that our bag is done, it's time for the grand reveal of it. Drum roll, please. Here it is. We got the pizza thing going on in the back. Is it just me? Let me know below. Does this look like pizza to anybody else? Look how gorgeous that bag is. We have this beautiful, bulky, sturdy Romanian cord strap here. That's a gorgeous texture right there. It really minimizes the stretch because of how bulky it is because we use so much yarn. Then we have our lovely gold D-rings in here for extra sturdiness. Our beautiful cinching, just to curve the top of the bag a little bit and give it a little more texture. And of course our gorgeous slip stitches that really just blended right in there. There's what it looks like on. I can't wait to use this. I'm in love. And that's it, your granny square tote bag is done. I hope you had so much fun making this bag with me today. If you found this tutorial helpful, definitely give it a thumbs up. Definitely don't forget to subscribe, especially if you want more beginner-friendly crochet tutorials like the one you just watched today. Let me know in the comments how your bag turned out, or if you plan on making this bag, or just what you would like to make next. I'd love to hear from you all. Thank you so much for watching, and happy crocheting. I will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.